I don't have a seat, so I'm on the hot, well, you're on the hot seat and I get to stand, so thank you so much. So, you know, usually with the hot seat, I don't share my question. Those of you who have sat on my hot seat before, are you able to hear, sir?
Hello.
I'll come this side.
Hello.
I don't know. We'll try everything. We'll try it. Yeah.
How do you hand mic? You want to try hand mic?
Hello.
Can't hear you.
So, one of the things we typically do, is this better? Is this better? Okay. So one of the things we typically do is, are you okay? We don't share questions, but I shared a question. You know, I asked you guys a question yesterday that if you had to, sorry, let me grab my glasses. You know, the theme for the conference is artificial intelligence, astute investments, and aesthetic interiors. And if you had to just give one word or one phrase that could probably cover all three, what would that be? And I would give you a minute each. It could be anything, right? It could be HICSA, it could be a Tesla, it could be something else. So maybe I'll start with you first.
So Manav, firstly, I think, thank you for having us on the hot seat, but I want to ask you, why are we being discriminated? Because the last time there were shots on the stage. So are we getting some beer before we start, or?
No, unfortunately.
So guys, please note, there is discrimination happening to us today. But the one word, the one phrase, the one company that I would, to answer your question, would be Netflix. I think the recommendation, do I have 30 seconds to talk about it?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So in my view, the recommendation, the use of artificial intelligence to personalized way of, you know, throwing options to every viewer is something that I've not seen in any other tech platform, in any other invention, nothing. And, you know, I often think that maybe one day that same technology, the same prescriptive way of, you know, make offerings should reach hotels, hotel pricing, and rev management software should work like that. So that's my 2 bits on your question, Manav.
Right. Mr. Kaul?
Good afternoon, everybody. Manav, I thought about your question, and I'm still thinking. You know, the only answer that I think, which I would like to share, is that the Oscar-winning movie this year was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. You know, and I don't know if that's what you're trying to capture here. And if I can take another alternate take on it, I was just thinking, I said, it would be, you know, you have AI, and it would be fantastic if someday if in the next few years, Air India, you know, could make a claim for these.
Sure.
That would be really great for us all.
Sure. Armand?
Yeah, thanks. So, I mean, again, I've also spent a lot of time, along with my co-panelists, on how to string all this together. So I think actually from all the talks that, and from the energy from the conference, I would say that for me is aspiring India. I think that all the points here, whether it's artificial intelligence, aesthetic interiors, they're really part of like this new energy that is coming into the aspiration of what India will want to become. And I think that really captures it because, you know, IT has really been at the forefront of India's growth. Aesthetic interiors, really, we see a lot of the creativity coming from India as well. So I think that really the best way to capture it is what we see here today, which is the aspirations of India.
Okay. Mr. Baljee?
I think at my age, when intelligence is going down, I think artificial intelligence is the topic which I was very, very fond of. That is why I came to this thing. So there was metaverse, there was artificial intelligence. So I think I've gained a lot, you know, and from this conference. And thank you very much for inviting.
James, how about you?
Well, as an American, we like acronyms. And being in India, I like the food here. And my mic doesn't work. I said being an American, we like our acronyms. And being in India, I love the food here. So I was trying to think of an acronym that was food related to capture the thesis behind this year's conference. And I thought about naan and garlic naan and Kashmiri naan and naan paneer, and I came up with the HICSA naan. So the HICSA naan is N for nimble, A for artificial intelligence to get to the next A for astute investment, leading to the spelling of this naan has 3 A's. So we go to the third A, which is aesthetic design to create next generation hotels. So that's N-A-A-A-N-H, HICSA naan.
Thank you. Mr. Chadha?
Manav, I've got 2 answers. One is a serious one. If you ask me for the theme, it's absolutely brilliant, but I would add sustainability to the theme because that's something that we need to build on as a sustainable future for the industry. And the non-serious answer, if you ask me, what combines the entire theme is 2 words, Manav Thadani. You know, for me, you are the Karan Johar of the hospitality industry, right? Your artificial intelligence is a part, but your intelligence levels are phenomenally high. You've created a wealth for yourself, definitely, with right investments. With the hall that I see, you've never called me home, but I know your aesthetic sense is beautiful. So God bless you and continue combining the industry in this particular manner. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start with the, with the seniors on the table, or on the pay, and say, your view of the younger generation of hoteliers. And we're not talking about people on this panel, but Rajiv, your views of the younger generation compared to where you were and when you were growing up. Any thoughts?
Sorry, what is the question exactly?
Your view of the younger generation of hoteliers.
Oh, I think we're a very capable generation. I think that I think we just need to, nudge them towards and remind them of a few things which are important. I always try and tell people that I've worked with earlier and now they're in senior leadership roles that, don't ever let mediocrity creep in. Because I think this culture of being a laptop general manager and a laptop hotelier, it could easily allow a lot of mediocrity to stem in. I think you have to embrace excellence. That's one thing. And second thing is that it is really our, it's a beautiful industry. It's a beautiful industry. I mean, our generation always believed that, luxury general manager or a general manager of a luxury hotel was probably the best job in the world. Now, maybe we were under a, my wife told me that I was under an illusion for something like 40 years, but that's what we really believed. Okay. And I think that self-belief has to continue to the next generation. I mean, we are hearing that, people do not want to be in this industry. They genuinely believe that everything else is a better job than this. So I think there has to be some inspirational leadership which has to restore, that sense of pride and really well-being and which is such a joy in this business.
Okay. Mr. Baljee, your view of the younger generation?
I'll tell you about my own experience. The younger generation thinks that hotels, any idiot can do it. IT, and there are better things people can do. So they tell me that, look here, you continue slogging, whereas we'll get into other things. So they're not, many people, they'll talk of work-life balance, the younger team. They say, you slog away 7 days a week. We want to have our, family time and this, that, and the other. So the whole generation, is differently wired. I don't think it's wrong. It's differently wired. So very few people are getting attracted to this industry as a younger men, and that is the challenge which all of us are facing. But then we got to adapt to that. It should be like somebody coming in, going out, and we have to be used to that. Everybody talking about attrition. But then what does BPOs do? They have attrition of 80-90%. But they have somehow honed their training system, recruitment system, onboarding system, everything is automated. So let people come and go. Work carries on. So we got to start thinking of that. People are talking of 5 days a week and stuff like that. We hoteliers think that if we work 7 days, so what? We were working, let them also work. but their thinking is different. So we need to probably think of that also. So there is a total thinking change, and I think we got to, if you got to attract younger talent, we got to pay them more, we got to give them more leisure time, and of course, expect that they'll work only for a shorter time, no careers. They'll work for a shorter time. That's what I feel about the younger generation.
Right. James, maybe we'll shorten the answers so that we can get more questions in there.
What specifically would you like me to address?
You have a very wide career, so I just want to know from you, you know, what your view of the younger generation is. What is your view of when you were a development person, and how do you think the business is evolving now?
It's a good question, because it is the future, and it's complicated in the sense that many of us have children in the room which are now traveling. And for me, the younger generation touches on technology, certainly part of the theme of this conference, the way the younger generation identifies a hotel or destination they want to go to, how they book, and the whole convenience and interface between the tech, the property, and the guest is really important. Me, I'm in my 60s. I would never imagine designing that system because I'm totally disconnected from it. But younger people in our hotel companies should be designing these systems for younger people. The second thing, which is really interesting and a passion of mine, is the ESG environmental issue, where 10 years ago, if you talk to hotel owners about introducing solar, wind, water recycling, community engagement, people would say, what's my return on investment? And you tell them it's 7 or 8 years, you know, forget it. So we're in a perfect time now with climate tech and the cost of these systems being lower, but the penny drops with the revenue side, that this younger generation is increasingly only going to stay in hotels where there's a practice of ESG, and I think Chris Nacetta touched on that briefly yesterday. So I think technology, have young people in your organization design the technology to communicate with younger people, and have the climate tech and promote it big time.
Right. Anil, since I'm right here, what's the one, what is the one thing you believe the older generation did better, and then, than the youngsters that are being, what's happening today?
When you ask me about older generation, you're talking about Mr. Kaul's generation?
Well, it depends on what you define as, because
see,
one of the...
let me put it this way. When we were growing up,
yeah.
when we started our careers in hotels, their personalities, one of them is sitting right here, Mr. Kaul, my own boss, Mr. Nakulanan, the hotels were known by them. Whatever brand they ran, they were absolutely, the whole city knew the general manager. A lot has changed since then to now. To my mind, the general manager's job has become much, much more difficult today. I've got a great set of GMs, very young, very bright, very energetic. But if I was to compare what used to happen those days, we were sharing a joke just now in the green room. There were no mobile phones those days when they were general managers. Every time you got a call for the general manager, he was always on a round. Today you call the general manager, he always has to be on the ground. If you look at the comparative performance, the duty manager would call up the comp set next morning and fix the occupancy in the ARR. And the next day morning, all hotels were RevPAR 1 in their own way. But today's world has totally changed. Everything has become so transparent. You got to be on the job, you got to be on the call, things people want it really, really fast. But I must say that the crop that we are working with is absolutely brilliant. You find a lot of good kids. They are equally passionate, they are equally committed, and they are much smarter. That's what I would say. And their jobs are getting tougher and tougher by the day.
Vikramjit, for you?
So I think the older generation took a lot more pride in their job, and I see that slowly diminishing today in the newer generation. Guys, don't kill me for this, but just an observation. See, the other thing I'd like to say is they were hoteliers, and today probably the younger generation is in the business of hotels, if I've been able to tell you the difference. So my 2 bits on that.
Sorry. So I have a question for each of you, right? How many of you on stage have a parent, sibling, or children working in the hospitality industry? And is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Do you have any, no. How about you, James?
Indirectly, my son, who's 31, runs a digital marketing business, and just somehow by magic, most of his clients are hotel companies and hotel owners.
And is that an advantage or disadvantage, or doesn't matter? Is that an advantage or disadvantage to you?
I can't hear it.
Is that an...
Oh, it's a big advantage for him, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much.
Mr. Baljee?
I don't have any siblings or sons working with me, and I think that's an advantage.
No.
Because the son can tell you, Dad, you're an idiot, you don't know anything.
But they're working in the hospitality industry.
Hospitality.
Right?
The son can tell you that, Dad, you don't know anything, that I can do better, whereas my vice president will not dare to do that. So I think that tremendous advantage to have a family like that.
But why aren't the three companies together? Do you think you'll merge the three companies together someday and form?
No, we don't have, they are not into the hospitality, and I am only into hospitality, right? They want me to slog till I die, and not to destroy the company which is already there. Dad, you carry on working. We'll inherit it at that time, and we'll see what to do with it. So
Right.
I am enjoying my work, and they are enjoying their work, and I think it's best to be, particularly this generation, to be out of each other's hair, right? So it's a lot of peace, and I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
Okay, Armand?
Yes, so I have both my parents that were in hospitality. Father founded a hospitality operatorship. I think it was an advantage actually, particularly because we talk a lot about generations here, but since I grew up with hospitality, I don't see old and new, but really a continuation of what hospitality has been. And I think that it's been really helpful to see how this changes over the years. You know, we have recent changes like online travel agents. They're only 10 years old. Most properties that we see, like the one that we're in today, they will be here in another 20, 30 years. So it's a long, long game, hospitality. And I think to be able to see it over several generations gives some, some depth in terms of how we talk about it, how it evolves, and what are the challenges that come ahead. Yeah.
Right. Rajiv?
Yeah, Manav, my son, my only son, he's into hotels. That wasn't the plan, but I think he wanted to go to an Ivy League, and he probably got into Cornell and not the others. So that was the reason for his choosing hotels, and then he joined Four Seasons, and he's been with them for the past 10 years. So is it an advantage, or I don't know about that, but I think it's a joy. I mean, there are some great conversations that we have, and I spent a few months with him, and they were opening 3 new restaurants, and it was nice. It was nice to smoke a cigar with your son and discuss something meaningful.
So my kids are currently studying, and they are not averse to hospitality, but I'll tell you the big paradigm shift. They are looking at any industry, whatever they do, more from an entrepreneurial way rather than taking up a job in the industry. So that's the big shift I see. It's not about I need a career in hospitality. It's about I want to do something on my own. And that startup could be in hospitality, it could be anywhere else. So that's the big paradigm shift in the way the younger lot thinks, the generation of tomorrow thinks.
Okay. I'm going to stick with you, and maybe some of you don't have an answer to this. One job that you were offered but you never took up?
Well, I think, I'm a commerce student, and I was offered a articleship when I was finishing my 3rd year college. And I would have probably been a chartered accountant, and you wouldn't have got me here on the stage. So that's the job I didn't take up.
Right. Mr. Kaul? And you never took up?
Some 30 years ago, when I was GM of the Oberoi New Delhi, I was offered a job by a brand which has become very big now. Okay,
we can talk about the brand now, it's okay.
Anyway, you want me to?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So we had Dr. Reddy, who used to be a very regular guest at the hotel. And he told me his vision for Apollo and what he wanted to be. And he said, look, I want somebody as a CEO who's outside of medical industry. And I was a 32-year-old general manager. CEO was a designation which really brought stars before your eyes. I toyed with that idea for a weekend. And
so we just want the name, one job. Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, we don't.
I see. Okay.
It's a hot seat. Just one answer.
Okay. So it was a job that I turned down. That's it. Yeah.
No name.
I beg your pardon.
No name of the company.
I told you, Apollo Hospitals.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear
Apollo
that.
Hospital.
Sorry. Armand?
Yes.
Unless you're talking to people. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry?
Unless you're talking to people now, I'm just kidding.
No, I think, I once had an option as well to look at a long path in government, more in diplomacy. I think at some point I realized that, you get a bit less contact with human beings when you go down that road. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I considered for a while. It was very glamorous at a younger age, very fancy buildings, dignitaries and all, but I think there was more substance in hospitality and what we do today here.
Right. We'll skip you, Mr. Baljee, unless you have something to share. But James, how about you?
Well, I always liked drinking beer, and I wanted to be in the beer business, and I ended up in the hotel business, but was often asked to go back into the beer business, but the hotel business is like an infection and a bug, and it just bites you, and it's a passion, and I enjoy it so much, so I can't imagine being in any other industry, but I do still drink beer.
Right. Anil?
I think I'm the only odd one out. I've never been offered a job, so.
I think it's hard to hire people from ITC. They're so well done.
Maybe I should say thank God for that, but.
Right. I'll stick with you, sir. One current industry trend that which may be short-lived. Yes, current. Anyone else who'd like to take that up?
I think I need to think a bit.
So, if I can take that, I think a couple of trends. One was the food delivery business which came out in COVID. I don't think that's sustainable for the hotel.
That will stay.
Okay, so I have a difference of opinion. I think that's what Manav wants, by the way.
Because we have done extremely well, that's why I'm saying we'll stay.
So Manav, now it's getting hotter.
Sorry?
I said now the hot seat is getting hotter. So my personal view, but I think, and the other business, which again I'm sure Anil will not agree with, is the the homestay, the villa business that hotels are getting into, because honestly, I don't understand the unit economics of that business. Again, a personal view, I know you're doing some of that under one of your brands, so.
No, my brand is not homestays. Our brand is Story. Our brand is Story with unique hotels in unique destinations, and they're all 20 keys upwards. I'm not in the business of homestays.
Yeah, so my two bits here. One, I don't understand the unit economics of that, small inventory, managing it in remote locations. I don't think that's going to stay from the hotel industry perspective, or, from hotel companies managing it.
Anyone else? One trend that you think is short-lived and will change? Okay. If you could, I'll come back to it. If you could have any celebrity be your personal assistant, Anil, who would that be and why?
To be honest with you, I have been a personal assistant to many celebrities. All right, so that's how we have loved and lived our life as a hotelier. If he's become a celebrity, he can't be my assistant until the time I become one. And work is in progress. Maybe a couple of years later, I can try and answer this question for you.
James, I'm sure you have a better answer than that.
You're asking who I'd want as my personal assistant?
And that person has to be a celebrity.
And what?
Has to be a celebrity.
Yeah, well, that's easy. Jerry Seinfeld, for sure.
Mr. Baljee?
What's the question?
I'm sorry, I know it's embarrassing, but the sound quality is really poor on stage, and I take responsibility for that.
Personal assistant.
Armand, you want to?
No, I don't have an answer for that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I've always been envious a bit of Batman's personal assistant. He has a really good butler, so, he looks like the right kind of guy. Nice touch of, very helpful. If you're injured, he'll take care of you. If you're in a bad mood, he'll feed you.
Who was that?
The Alfred from Batman.
Alfred from Batman. Mr. Kaul?
I would like Chef Nobu to cook for me.
Right.
I really am terribly fond of his food, yes.
Right. How about you, Vikramjit?
Can I say Manav Thadani?
Sure.
So that's my answer.
Okay, we'll stick with you. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Sorry, you'll have to come a little closer.
One food for the rest of your life. If you had to eat that every day, what would that be?
Food.
Food.
I would be happy answering what spirit I could drink every day of my
Okay,
life.
so what if you...
So I am a gin drinker, so I'd love to have gin and tonic every day of my life, especially when I'm in meetings with my boss here.
Right. Rajiv, any one food or...
Eggs.
Eggs. Armand?
Oof. Pasta, and then I'll have a whiskey with you.
Right. Mr. Baljee?
Cheers, Armand.
Cheers.
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
HICSA naan.
HICSA naan. I like that. Mr. Chadha?
So many hai. Dal Bukhara number 1.
Dal.
Dampuk Gosht Biryani number 2. Dampuk Kakori Kebab number 3. Koi Awadh from Dampuk number 4. I have so much.
You have to.
My list continues.
You'll have to invite us for a free meal.
Sir, it's
after
an honor
giving
to share
all
the
that.
stage with you anytime, any day, anywhere, and takeaway service is available in any city that you live in. Yeah.
Okay, if, Anil, if you had to switch lives on anyone else on this stage, who would that be?
On this stage, if you say, I would love to be Mr. Rajiv Kaul. You know, a person whom I've always looked up to in my growing up years, you know. And one, he's a great hotelier, 2, great human being. 3, I also got to know much later in life that he's also my boss's best friend. All right, so, yeah. So, Mr. Kaul.
No, and I think it's an unfair question to ask people who don't know everyone on this stage, so I'll skip you, Armand. And James, unless you want to say, I want to be myself, that's fine. But how about you, Vikramjit?
I would say Mr. Baljee. I was once an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur again. So the hotel entrepreneur right here, Mr. Baljee.
Rajiv?
I'll go with Anil because I'll get to eat the dal bukhara and the ran and the kakori kebab, you know. So that's the best bet.
All right. Rajiv, will stick with you because, you know, you seem to... what's the most embarrassing that has happened to you in your professional setting?
Many things.
The most embarrassing. I know many things, but like the most embarrassing.
Not including right now, huh? Okay, one, you know, we had a head of state. You're a very young front office manager or an RDM, and we had a head of state, and you're escorting him upstairs, and you know, are making this conversation, and you're so thrilled to have this person, and you go to the presidential suite, and the presidential suite is locked. And you should be carrying the master key, but you're not carrying the master key. So now you have to wait for about 5 minutes for the key to come up. And this is a presidential visit, and it was a presidential visit from a first world country. So that was a national embarrassment of sorts.
Mr. Baljee?
See, what is the question? That what I like to be?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I like to be Manav Thadani.
No. We are talking about
I like to be Manav Thadani.
What are we talking about?
You can give all the gyan.
No. That was the past
Still
question.
everybody claps, and then you have no respect.
No.
Yeah.
We are talking
no
about
financial
We're
consequences.
talking about your most embarrassing moment in your professional life.
See, what happens is that, I'll tell you, I've been in the business for 50 years now. Okay, lots of embarrassing situations, but by now, being so long, you become so thick-skinned that nothing embarrasses you.
Right. James, how about you?
I used to work for a legend in our industry, a guy named Saul Kersner. Many of you may know who he was. He created one and only resorts, Atlantis and the Palm, visionary, legendary guy. And I started work for him, and I was about 6 months into the job, and I had a phone call and was coming down to the hotel lobby to meet him to get into a car, and one of my colleagues said, "You're late. Mr. Kersner hates it when you're late." And I said, "It's only 2 or 3 minutes." He said, He hates it when you're late. So I came down, and Mr. Kersner used multiple profanities, screaming at me about being late. And meanwhile, the car hadn't even arrived yet, and yelling at me. And I looked at him, and I said, "Are you done?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Then get in the profanity car." And he looked at me, and he shook his head, and it was a reset button, and he got in the car, and ever since that moment, we had a great relationship. And I asked him once, "Why was it that you were so focused on me being late?" And he said something that stuck with me, and I'll share with you. He said, "It's the most impolite thing to be late. Always be on time." And it was simple, but that was my most embarrassing but most instructive moment.
Right. Rajiv, I have an interesting question for you. And you have to give me one name. Vicky Oberoi or Captain Nair? If you had to work for one of them again, you have to pick one of them. Who would that be? And we don't need an explanation. We just...
Well, Mr. Oberoi is alive, so I could work for him.
No. You're being diplomatic. Good one.
I have no intentions of choosing the alternative.
You're in a very good position to answer that one, right? Shall we come back? You want to think the pros and cons?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to qualify my answer.
No.
Okay. Then I plead the fifth.
All right. Let's see. James, what's the best hotel deal you've ever signed, which is now operational?
What do you mean by best?
I don't know. You decide.
I think from an iconic perspective, I would say the Fairmont in Baku, Azerbaijan at the Flame Towers. It's constantly featured in media and very, very iconic structure in Baku, very unique. And that would be probably the best as far as iconic. And I think that probably the best as far as profitability would probably be the one and only Riti Ra in the Maldives. It broke the $1,000 a night barrier and just went from strength to strength. So those two hotels, I could say, with my hand on my heart, were probably the best.
Right.
Can you ask the same question?
No? Oh, go ahead. Why don't you do that?
I'll just take a moment. If you ask me, the best deal that we've signed in the last 1 year is actually Mementos Udaipur. And the owner trusted us even when the brand was not launched. It's just the whole story about the brand and what we are going to do. We just opened the hotel 20 days back. It's a 100-acre property. Somebody's invested hugely and invested in us. So I think that's the best deal that we've signed over the years. And this hotel in Udaipur, I guarantee you and mark my words on it, will compete with the big boys of Udaipur in the first season itself.
Right. I have a question specifically for you now. Mementos or Story? You have to choose one of them. No diplomatic answers.
I can't choose one.
Are you going to take the fifth?
No, because both.
No. You have to choose one.
You cannot choose one.
You're on my hot seat.
Both are operating in different space. Both have a huge amount of thought which has gone behind it.
But Rajiv was
both have a flight path which is very clear. Both have different swim lanes, and we have to back up both the brands. And I'm very, very confident that we would be in a position to do so. We have a great development team.
I wanted one word,
yeah,
Rajiv.
but I can't choose one.
Okay. Vikramjit, what's the silliest thing you have ever done to impress anyone?
Inflated budgets to my boss to give him numbers he wants to hear. I do it year and year again.
So okay, that's a great answer. Rajiv, have you ever done that? Inflated numbers to impress your boss?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. No. Just a little bit. Yeah, not much. I wasn't very good at getting away with these things.
Right. Mr. Baljee,
Inflated numbers to impress the banks.
You have inflated numbers to impress the bank.
I don't have a boss, so
Well, I would be careful because there's something recently in SEBI or something about some numbers being, but
that's what I'm saying. These things happen in life. So we are become thick-skinned. It's like pouring water on a duck's back. Nothing sticks to us, right? We go on, carry on regardless. You understand? Yeah.
at least you're being honest. That's good. Armand?
Well, I mean, you have to sell the dream a little bit, right? I think that, you know, when we build new projects, we have to at least have some vision on it. So I think that, yes, sometimes we have to use our imagination a little bit, but, you know, it can work. It can work. Yeah.
Right. James?
I just feel I play it safe. I under-promise and hope to God I over-deliver. I try and play it safe and under-promise the numbers and over-deliver.
So, Anil, if you had to choose between two equally qualified candidates for a leadership position, but one had a personal connection to you and the other did not, how would you take that decision?
Totally on merit. It doesn't matter whether you have a personal connection or not.
Right. And anyone else has a different opinion?
All things being equal, I like to take a guy who's got a personal connection. All things being equal.
Right.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I would add, like, I think that I would probably be harder on the one that I have a personal connection with, because I think you have more to prove. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Baljee, you know, you do a very good job at Royal Orchid of managing cost. In fact, I've often said that your company does one of the best jobs when it comes to controlling cost. You also have a very strong bottom line for most of your hotels, other than the fact that today I found out that you inflate your numbers. What is that one
to the
thing?
banks, not to, only to the banks. Okay, to get the loans. Okay, we still service them.
What is that one thing or matrix you do? What is the matrix you use to do that? I mean, is there something special that you do, or what is it?
No, we breathe down everybody's neck on a regular basis, you know. Yeah. So there, I mean, and we have no timings, you know. My wife keeps telling me, you are calling up this guy on a Sunday. I say, he can call me on a Sunday also, no problem. So we breathe down people's neck, and the culture is such that, you know, they don't mind me talking to them or vice versa, right? And it's not that we being unreasonable, but we say you benchmark, okay? So, and today there are plenty of benchmarks available like STR and so many things are there. You benchmark and, you know, and then you say, otherwise everybody say, I'm doing a great job. And, you know, well, you look at, and today there are a lot of things available. You go on an MMT and immediately you know what your competition is selling at. So he can't really fool you. So I think that's what we do. We are constantly at our people and they are all delivering. That's what we are very, very proud of our team.
Right. Vikramjit, I'll ask you a different question, and I'll probably ask everyone the same. If you had the option of giving some advice to your younger self, what would that be today?
Now, this is the embarrassing question to which I don't have an answer, but what I would say is that I think the younger generation of today, I think take your jobs a lot more
No. We're talking about you're giving advice to yourself.
When I was younger,
Yes, if you could go back.
we could do one whole conference on that. There would be so many things here.
Okay. Rajiv, if you had to give yourself advice when you were younger to yourself, what would that be?
My advice would be that always be well-mannered. Always.
You mean to say you're not well planned?
No. Always be well-mannered.
Well, and
The way you treat, you know,
No,
there are
but
moments-
so who did you mistreat? Because obviously I thought you were well mannered now.
You're testing me. What I'm saying is that, you know, there are moments that where you lose it. So okay, one way is that don't lose your cool.
Right.
Remain, but I still think, it is, treat people, it's how you treat people with kindness and with good manners. There are moments that test you, but I think it's great if you can stick to that all the time.
Right. Armand?
Well, I mean, I'm not that far from my younger self, but I think I would really say just be yourself and convey, like, be authentic from the start. Like, no, don't doubt that, and just share that with other people, and that's the strongest thing you can do from a younger age.
Right. Mr. Baljee?
I think honesty is something which should be there, and I don't think we have ever wavered from that. And if you did waver, as I mentioned about inflation of figures to the banks, you and I did it together in 2 of our reports. But of course, the market dynamics change. I don't blame you, but otherwise, I think you have to, if that is your core value, no matter what the temptations are, right? So if that is your core value, stand in good stand, and you feel good about it, okay. Particularly in a place like Bangalore, where a lot of people are doing so much better. Narayan Murthy was my contemporary at IIM Ahmedabad, where he is and where we are. But I don't feel bad about it. I say, okay, it was his luck, his domain, he's gone where? To worldwide fame. And whereas we are here in India only. But, I feel very, very happy. I compare myself with my contemporaries. There were 5 of us who were selected after IIM Ahmedabad into Oberoi's. I chose not to take up the job. 4 of my contemporaries did that. And I still feel happy that I'm contented. That's what is important.
Sure. James? If you had to give yourself advice, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I say to myself, if I only knew in my 30s what I know today, my life would be a lot different. And I think if I had to advise my younger self, I'd really focus on being a better listener, being a little more patient, and just getting the whole story right before you take a decision or have a reaction. So I think patience and listening and just getting a better picture. And that really only comes with age. But if I had those skills in my 30s, I think my life would definitely be different.
Right. Anil, you have a...
Well, if I look at my own self, I think I was a very shy kind of a person, a bit introvert. Hoteliering taught how you need to stand up on stage and speak. So if I have to advise myself saying, don't worry, speak your heart out, speak your mind out. Nothing is going to fall apart.
Manav, I want to add one thing here, and this is for the benefit of the younger guys in the audience. Do not be risk averse, guys. You guys have time on your side. Take risk. That's my one thing that, probably my advice to my younger self and to the younger guys here. Don't be risk averse.
Right. Anil, I have a question for you. Bukhara and Dampuk are legendary restaurants and brands. How do you get the new generation, new Gen X or whatever, to come to these and eat at these restaurants? I mean, and I don't know if it's happening or not, but you've also got some new brands that have come up. But how do you are these brands for the older generation, and are you creating new brands for the younger generation, or what's the story there?
So see, Bukhara has survived, since the time we opened in 1976. For one big reason, this is what my belief is a predictable dining experience. We stick to the knitting. We stuck on to what we are good at. We didn't go and make tandoori chicken and topped it up with another sauce and put it in a French plate. It is the same old Bukhara, same menu. No GM has been allowed to add another dish. We are into 3 generations now. So ITC Maurya has had grandfathers, fathers and kids, but they all love it. As I said, it did so many covers 20 years back, it continues to do so many covers now. When you look at Dampuk, it's the same classic restaurant. When you go back to the new generation, we just launched a new brand called Avartan. This is a progressive South Indian restaurant. Again, we were focusing on only one particular cuisine and not go pan-India. Do this from Himachal, do this from this. We just stuck to South. We opened this restaurant, happy to report. It's also become a pride of India. it has recently, just about a week back, got a place amongst the top 50 restaurants in Asia at number 30. So, and it is the only hotel restaurant being there apart from Bukhara and Dampuk, which was always in the list. So we continue to experiment. That's one thing I've learned with ITC hotels, that we love experimenting, and we love experimenting with food.
Right. Armand, have you worked with Tozia?
Yes.
Okay, so just as context, I think Tozia was started by your father.
Yes, correct.
Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you worked with Tozia, and now you're working outside, with Ascott. Is there a difference? And what is that? Because I think there's still Tozia involved. So
yes,
maybe.
yes. No, so I think obviously starting in hospitality in an entrepreneurial, more family-driven business is one thing. I think as well, particularly focus on Southeast Asia was really about learning how to have the pulse of the market, how to work with different parties, different owners. That's been really fruitful to understanding this business very quickly. I think today, obviously, so I'm with Ascott and I take care of business development, and now we have a much wider structure to sort of play with, and I think that really is a transition in the hospitality world. So again, when I started working in hospitality, online travel agents didn't exist. I've seen the transformation towards more systems-driven hospitality. I think that we still cannot forget about the key thing in hospitality, which is people. And it's funny, but I think in this conference we talk a lot about AI. How do we reduce costs? How do we reduce number of people? But I think balancing as well the amount of capital that we have to put in to make sure that hospitality is part of the future, right? We have to attract talent. But I also was in a place where hospitality was really about people. Because obviously when you're a small entrepreneurial business, you have to have that mindset to really engage with people, whether it's people working with you, people working for you, or also people who want to learn whether or not they should join you, especially when there's a room full of competitors. Yeah.
James, just wanted to ask you, do you think AI, which is artificial intelligence in this particular conversation, will replace human workers in the future? And what's the most interesting AI project you've heard about?
I think in our industry, the human touch cannot be replaced. I think you will have certain hotels that will pride themselves on having very few people and everything's automated, where your check-in and check-out, your room service, deliveries, all that is, you really don't see people. And there may be some type of automatic vacuum cleaning system running around the hotel. But I think at the end of the day, depending on the positioning of the hotel, we'll always need people. And right now our industry is going through a very challenging time getting people. And so one of the things that I've learned through COVID is that we're taking the opportunity to cross-train. Normally in the hotel, people do one task, but to tell them to do multiple tasks is very foreign. So you can reduce your headcount by encouraging people to multitask and maybe make a little more money that way. So I think between the AI and the human side on multitasking, we're going to see a massive transformation in our industry. And the AI, I think, will be more applicable in the booking engines and reservations and anticipating customer behavior. I mean, you go on Google and you look going to Hong Kong for a long weekend, and next thing you know, you've got bombardments of hotel opportunities and restaurants in Hong Kong when you didn't do anything. But we're all being watched. There is no privacy anymore. So I think the AI is going to become very important in the booking engines, how we make our reservations, how we're nudged, upselling, those kinds of things. But the human side is definitely not going to go away. And if anything, I think we work more in cross-training and having kind of better customer experiences by getting people to be empowered and do more things.
Right. I just noticed a few questions that were popped up here. Let's see. If Mr. Chadha, if you had to open your own hotel, which part of India would you choose to open that hotel?
I love Goa. I'd love to go there.
Goa. James, I guess, if you had to open your own hotel, doesn't have to be in India, but where?
Probably Costa Rica.
It's a really interesting place. I like Costa Rica. It's very natural, and it plays well to the environmental tourism story that's unfolding increasingly.
Mr. Baljee, you have enough hotels. We're not going to let you open another one, so we're going to skip you.
Thank you.
I know you want like another 100 and another 100. Armand, if you had to open your own hotel today,
It's a tough one.
you can go out of India.
Well, I mean, in India, I'd probably definitely choose Jaipur. I think.
Jaipur?
But outside of India,
Would you invest in them? There are quite a few, owners. They're looking for some investments as well.
I think anything starts with a conversation, and then.
Right, Rajiv.
Well, Udaipur, if you can get Lake Pichola or Agra near the Taj.
Right. How about you, Vikramjit?
Any market which is not cyclical, doesn't have peaks and troughs, demand is static, and
All right.
I'll go any of those places here.
Okay, I think I'd like to just close. Last question, make it very easy, and it's a one-word answer, right? For you, text or WhatsApp calls versus phone call.
WhatsApp calls.
WhatsApp calls.
WhatsApp,
WhatsApp video calls.
video calls.
WhatsApp recorded message calls.
Anil,
Sometimes you can't hear the bell ringing on a WhatsApp, so I still prefer a phone call.
okay, we'll call you later. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the panelists. I'm again apologetic about the sound quality that we've had to, not just for this session, but throughout the day and last